Hello and welcome to episode 33 of the Victorian Studio podcast. My name is Maureen and I'm coming to you from Winnipeg, Manitoba, Canada on Sunday, February the 28th, 2016. Welcome to all new and returning viewers. I hope you enjoy your visit with me in my studio today. I have to share with you some knitting, some spinning, and some yarn dyeing that I've got done over the last couple of weeks. So I hope you enjoy seeing those. A lot of the new projects that I seem to be starting have a geeky theme to them. I'll have something to share with you on Star Wars, something that's related to Harry Potter, and also something inspired by Game of Thrones. So I hope you enjoy seeing what I've been up to. So first I'll start with my finished project. I was able to finish my shawl designed by Mina Phillip of the Knitting ExPat podcast. And that, of course, I am keeping in my fondant fiber cat bag because Mina was very kind to knit me up some matching notions bags for my fondant fiber bags. So these are from Mina Makes on Etsy, and if you're ever lucky enough to catch one of her updates, I would highly recommend her shop. These bags are so well made. Even has little paw fabric on the inside of them. I really love them. Thank you very much, Mina. So this is the first pattern that I've ever tried of hers, and not only is she a great bag maker and a wonderful podcaster, she's a very good designer as well. As I said, this is my first shawl that I've ever done of hers, and it's For the Love of Rainbow shawl, and it's paid for pattern. And it's a very long shawl, but what I wanted to do was use up some rainbow yarn for this. Not only is the shawl named for the love of rainbows, and the yarn that I had was rainbow yarn, I wanted to make it for a rainbow knit-along. And if you were watching my last episode, I was mentioning about all the different CALs knit-alongs that have been going on in Ravelry. And yes, I did enter this in a few of those knit-alongs. So one of them was a rainbow knit-along. So this is very appropriate. So what I was using was some yarn that I got last year or even the year before to make my vampire shawl, and this is Ade Long Artistic 8/2, and it's not the softest yarn, but what I love about it was the long color transitions. I'm just trying to find the label here. Here we go. And I got this from a website in Germany. The yarn itself is made in Estonia, but it's 100% wool. But yeah, really long color transitions. So I really loved making my vampire shawl out of this. So I had some yarn left over, and I knew I wanted to make something else rainbow-ish out of it. So I used one large ball that I had wound off. What I had done when I first got the yarn from Germany, it was quite long. It was 260 grams, and so it was like, I think, over 1,000 yards in all when I first got this. So what I did was I wound it off into balls of one transition whole rainbow set of colors each. So I still had one ball left that had all the colors in it. So I wanted to use that for this shawl. And what I wanted to do was just keep knitting it until I ran out of rainbow wool. So that's what I did. And this is a 2-color shawl. So the other color that I used for this is the Briggs & Little Dura Sport in Ecru. So this is something that I got from Ram Wools. It's 80% wool and 20% nylon. So I had enough of this to work on the shawl with the rainbow wool. And this is all that I have left of the rainbow wool, but while I was making my shawl, these weren't the colors that I required. I'd already done yellow, green, and purples and blues. This, I think, was just left over at the very end of the initial ball of yarn that I got from Germany. So I'm showing you this because it comes into play at the end of my shawl here. So I used the one ball of rainbow yarn and the ecru to finish up this shawl. And what I did was, this beautiful pattern starts on this end, and I started with the oranges and yellows, and then of course for her lattice work I used the ecru, and then it gently goes into from yellow to green, and then to the beautiful blues, and then into purples, and then finally red. So what I ended up doing was just continuing to knit until I was finished the red color on that ball. And so this is a little bit shorter than her whole shawl, believe it or not. It's even bigger. This is more than my wingspan, well, almost exactly my wingspan. This ended up blocked out at 63 inches wide. And so I just love this. I've already worn it to work and got many compliments on it. But what was funny about doing this was, obviously at the end you're doing very, very long rows. So this was the final rows, was this purples and reds. And as I mentioned, I wanted to use as much of the rainbow yarn as possible, so I was playing yarn chicken at the very end and going through, and I got about 12 stitches from the end when I ran out of red yarn. So was not happy. I had a few options. I figured I had about 4 different options on what I could do then. I could maybe dye up some of this yarn with a little bit of red dye, since this was the same yarn but the wrong colors, no reds left. So that was one option. Or maybe I could spin some fiber that I have in my stash, but it wouldn't be exactly the same. Or maybe I could tink back, but I really didn't want to because I wanted to get as much of that red in, and it was only 12 stitches from the end, so it was about that much, well, maybe about that much left at the end when I ran out of yarn. So what I did was I looked in my stash and looked for some yarn that I had left over that I might have red colors of, and wouldn't you know it, my West Yorkshire spinners, of all things, had the perfect red color that I needed. So what I did was I pulled out some of my leftover. This was left over from my Christmas Eve cast on socks. So there's lots of it left. So I didn't mind cutting up some to get the perfect red. This is Holly Berry, and it has 2 shades of red. It has a lighter red and then a darker, a deeper red, which was a perfect match, believe it or not, for this Estonian wool. So I can't even tell where those stitches are at the very end. It'd be very hard pressed to actually look really, really close to see where I substituted the yarn, just for those final 2 inches or so. So then what I did was I just did a border of garter stitch. She has garters between the stripes, so I just did a thicker border to kind of match the start-on edge when you begin. I wanted to do a border of ecru to kind of balance that out. So I think it worked out very well. I was very lucky that I was able to find something that worked. For that amount of stitches, it would have been kind of a waste to tink back a whole row. So it worked out really well. So I'm very happy with that solution to that problem anyway. So as I said, this For the Love of Rainbow shawl was a wonderful pattern by Mina. She writes such a clear, Easy to follow pattern. I highly recommend it. I'm looking forward to doing another one of her patterns. And I've entered this into about 6 knit-alongs that are currently going on. There are shawls, shawl knit-alongs. There's the rainbow knit-along that this was very applicable for. So yeah, I was really happy to be able to get that finished. It was a really quick knit too as well. But yeah, there was probably only like 1 or 2 sections that I didn't finish off with. Her pattern, the final section, instead of 2, it would have 1 large block, and in between that another set of lattice. So if I do this shawl again, which I probably will, you know, maybe I'll do it with the full pattern and make it even longer. But as it is, it's well long enough for me to wear to work or with my coat. Yeah, it was a nice pattern to get done. So that's the only thing I got finished this last few weeks, but I did continue on some works in progress and even casted on a few things. So let's see, my Roosevelt cardigan. You know, I noticed on my project page, I've been doing this darn project since last August. It's taking me so long to get through it, but I did get a fair amount done in a big chunk of time that I set aside to work on it. I'm at the point now of this cardigan where there's about 3 or 4 different things that you're doing at once, decreasing at the neck, adding the sleeves, arm shaping, you know, like there's all kinds of things going on at once, and a couple of cables, you know, sets that you're going back and forth. So it's really at the point of the project where I really need to sit down and concentrate on it. But it is coming along. So if you haven't been here before, this is the Roosevelt cardigan by Amanda Schusker. Let's see, I've got a color picture of what it should look like. And this is from Interweave, and I chose it because I really love the cables. But to be honest, it's very complex pattern for a fairly new, because this is my first cardigan, I consider it myself a new sweater knitter. So although I've done other projects that are a lot more simple, this is a really complex one for me. I'm getting to the end of my, I think this is the 7th ball. I have 3 left of the Wensleydale Sheep Shop long wool. And I love this teal color. This is Aran weight, and it's 100% wool from Yorkshire, England. So it's really beautiful, and I love working with it. It's really, really nice. So let's see, giving you an update. I no longer have 3 separate pieces. The sleeves have now been joined, and just using one of my little bobbins DPN holders on here because it's pretty heavy and kind of unwieldy. So let's see, get untangled here, Maureen, and show you. Okay, so this is what it's at right now. This is the front left, and right now the pocket's just pinned in place, so I hope you can see the cables on there with the pocket. There's the sleeve that's now attached, and doing some decreases at the arms. And the back is just plain stockinette with a ribbed bottom. And here is the right front with the right sleeve, and the cable going up the outside of the sleeve, and again cables down the front and on the pockets. And after I'm finished up to the neck, there'll be a button band that turns into a collar and then come back down on the button band again. So still a fair amount to do, But I'm pretty pleased with how much I got done since I last showed you. There's the progress keeper from the last time, so I did get a few inches done from there. But yeah, putting on the sleeves, it's the first time I've ever done anything like that. So I had to wrap my head around how exactly this was all going to work. You leave a little bit of an opening at the underarm to Kitchener up at the end, so that's what that is. But yeah, just kind of, like I say, wrapping my head around how this was all going to work at the first was really challenging for me, but I hope I'm doing it right. I hope it's going to come out okay. I tried trying it on. I'm going to have to switch, I think, to maybe my carbons with my 60-inch cable, because I tried it on, but I can only do like one side at a time without it falling off the needles. So for how much I was able to try it on, it seemed to be fitting fine. So that was a relief. But yeah, I'm looking forward to getting up to the neck, and then I'll be able to really try it on and see if there's any adjustments that need to be made. And then I think the final button band and collar will be a lot more simple. So I think I'm at the most complex part of the pattern right now. As I said, not only are you knitting across, joining the sleeves, decreasing both at the sleeves and at the armholes, because it comes up, and then it has a shoulder, what do they call it? I think it's like a shoulder strap kind of feature on the top. And so you're doing all kinds of things at once and going back and forth, making sure that you're continuing the pattern not only in the front cables but up the sleeves, and making sure that you continue in pattern with those as well. So yeah, what I was doing was, since I had finished watching the last season of Downton Abbey, I had some discs, some DVDs of the first 3 seasons, so I was doing a Downton Abbey marathon while I was knitting on this. So that was fun to go back to the beginning of Downton Abbey and watch those first few seasons as well. Still watching them, but yeah, so that's where I'm at with the Roosevelt. Continuing on with that. Gee, when I'm finished that project, what the heck am I going to do? I'm going to have a very short podcast because I won't have my cardigan to show anymore. Okay, the next things that I've been working on. The next 3 are all my geeky obsession related projects. The first one is my Muppet knit along for the Bakery Bears podcast, Muppet Cal. And if you were here last time, you may recall I chose Kermit the Frog as my Muppet. And not just any Kermit, but Jedi Kermit, the Kermit Luke Skywalker. And so, of course, I mentioned I had to put this project in my Skywalker Ranch bag with my Boba Fett, of course. So this was a knit along that you chose your favorite Muppet, and then you took the colors of that Muppet and did a project from that. And as fate worked out, I had already dyed up my own Cascade 220 in the colors that I needed. So I'm using that, and I've been about halfway done of this ball, I guess. But it was an ecru color at the beginning. So what I did was I had dyed it fern green and wallaby brown. So I have the beige, the brown, and the green in the Kermit Skywalker colors. I'll just put another picture here for your reference so you can see what I'm talking about if you weren't here last episode. So the pattern that I chose was Optimistic Knits, and that's just a pattern that Ravelry forwards you to a blog. It's a blog post, so I just wrote out, it's very, very simple, Fingerless Mitts by Devin Josting. And let's see, I'm using US number 5, so 3.75 millimeter needles for this project. And I got 1 base of the mitts completed. So that's it here, and that's how my hand-dyed yarn is coming out. And it has an afterthought thumb. So inside, you can see the ends here. I've put in a temporary stitch in here that will open up for the thumb. So I will add the thumbs later, but I thought I would get both mitts done first. So there's the first one completed, except for the thumb. And there's a band that goes across the back as well. And I'm just getting up to doing almost the rib work on the second one. So yeah, I'm very pleased with how those are coming out. And what I did was I looked at the patterns that the yarn was making and thought these two kind of pooling of yarn on the backs were kind of cool. So I matched those up. So what I did was on the first mitt, at the beginning of the row is when I did the afterthought temporary stitches, and on this one, the second one, I did almost the whole round and did the temporary stitches at the end of the round, so that when I'm wearing the mitts, they'll kind of match up with both the darker pooling, both on the outside of the mitts. So I'm very pleased with how that's turning out so far. Oh, if you weren't here last time, of course, my R2D2 homemade stitch marker. This was a pendant from the late 70s, early 80s. It was from the first Star Wars movie anyway, for a necklace that I just added a couple of jump rings, and I'm using it as my stitch marker for this project. So lots of fun. So I still have to do the thumbs. There's also, as I mentioned, a seed stitch strap on the back of them. I'll put a picture in here so you can see what they're going to look like at the end. And then I have to also choose some nice buttons to put on those as well. So yep, lots of fun working on those. They'll probably be done by the next episode. So the knit along for the Muppet Cow over at Bakery Bears, I believe, goes until March 31st. So plenty of time to get those done. So let's see, the next thing that I wanted to share is something that's Game of Thrones inspired, and that's the Winter is Coming shawl by Sally Jane Cameron. That's a Pink Haired Girl Knits podcast. Sally and her daughter Rachel, I love watching their podcast from South Africa. And Sally has done a few patterns, and this is the first time I've done one of hers. And I've wanted to do this Winter is Coming shawl for a while because I am a fan of Game of Thrones as well. So it was very interesting to try this one. So I've just got started on it. What I did was I sent away for some more of the same type of yarn that I did my rainbow shawl with. It's again the Ade Long Artistic 8/2. And again, I wanted to order a bunch at once, so I sent away for the largest part that they had, the largest ball, and I just, here, I'm just going to attach this back so you can show you. This is the huge amount of yarn. I think I showed it last episode. It wasn't caked up. But I love it once it's caked up. You can see the slow transitions from the blacks to the light grays, and it goes through a few times. So, I mean, there's a huge amount of yarn here. I think it was about 1,200 yards, and I just barely got it on my Stanwood yarn winder to make this huge cake. I'm so glad I got the jumbo version of that because I just barely was able to finish. There's no way I could do a huge cake like this on a standard ball winder. So yeah, I'm thrilled with the way that came out. And I've just started this this shawl. So far I've only got the first section done, and it's only, pardon me, in the black so far, but I'm loving the way the lace work is coming out in that. I'm excited to see once it starts transitioning into the lighter colors, because she has different sections in her shawl. I won't give anything away, obviously, but her different sections are all different themes or areas of the Game of Thrones world. It starts out with snow and then waves and dragon scales. It starts out with the wall. So this black section for the wall I think is appropriate because of, if you know Game of Thrones. And then it goes through stakes and icicles. So I'm hoping that maybe the very lightest of the gray will be transitioning in there at the end. So we'll see how that turns out. So far, so good with that. And I'm using my very long carbons on this. This is actually my 60-inch cable. So if I want to switch cables to put this on my cardigan, I'm going to have to switch this to my 40-inch. But that's what's nice about these carbons. I can mix and match them, and even with those connectors that we got, add multiple cables together to make it even longer. So yeah, so that's a work in progress that will probably be going on for a little bit, but at least now that I'm finished the rainbow shawl, I have another shawl on the needles. So the only other thing that I am working on is something that I'm not going to actually put on the needles until Tuesday, because it's going to be for a special Harry Potter knit along with the Inside Number 23 podcast. It's a new podcast by Katie over in the UK. She's new and so wonderful to watch. I highly recommend her podcast. She's doing a Harry Potter knit along. And of course, being a Gryffindor on Pottermore, I had to participate. And what I wanted to do was a pair of socks, because I don't have any socks on the needles right now. And I was looking through some of the concept art for Harry Potter, and I came across a paintings or concept art for Fawkes the Phoenix. If you're a Harry Potter fan, you would know that. But if you aren't a Harry Potter fan, here's the concept art for Fawkes. And he is Dumbledore's Phoenix. And I thought those colors were just awesome. And I wanted to try dyeing up some yarn for this project. So I'll just kind of segue into my yarn dyeing, because I wanted to share that with you first. So here's the yarn that I ended up dyeing, and this time I used some Knit Picks Felici, and I think I have the ball band from that. This was their bare yarn, and it's in the fingering weight. It's 436 yards or 100 grams, and so it's 75% superwash merino, 25% nylon, so it'll be perfect for socks. But it is a lot thinner than the Cascade 220 yarn that I tried dyeing previously. So it's the first time I've done this type of yarn, and I'm very pleased with how that turned out. And I used kangaroo paw, the wattle yellow, and currawong black for that. And here's a picture of the concept art and my yarn side by side, so you can see the colors together. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to seeing how this is going to knit up in some socks. So the next thing that I had to decide was what pattern to use for my socks for the Harry Potter knit along. And I had a book that I had previously purchased a while ago that some other people are using for this knit along. Here we go. And this is the Knitting Wizardry book. And it's kind of an unofficial Harry Potter pattern book. So they have different patterns related to wizards and owls and that kind of thing. So they have some really nice patterns I'd like to try. Obviously things that are Snape related. they have, let's see, very pretty shawls. Oh, and here's some fingerless mitts. But since I already have some fingerless mitts on the needles right now, I thought I would try some socks. So there are different socks in here. I'll just show you a few. Let's see. These are the gardener socks, and those are nice, but they're kind of short. So I don't think I'm going to use that pattern. And then they have Chili Castle socks, but for my project, I think those are kind of plain. And then I did like these ones. These are called Griffin socks. So obviously similar to Gryffindor. But again, I was looking through and wanted to really do something with a flame or fire pattern, because Fox the Phoenix does rise from the flames. So what I did was I went on Ravelry and I was looking through the sock patterns for something that had kind of a flame motif, and there is a pattern on there called Fox socks, but or a fox by itself, the pattern name, but yeah, it wasn't one that I was really thrilled with. So what I did was I did find one called Autumn Fires. And this is a free pattern on Ravelry. So I think that's the one that I'm going to do. It has like little candle flames going up it. So hopefully this yarn and this pattern will make a good pairing for my socks. So as I said, I'm not going to cast that on until March the 1st. So I'll get my project bag all ready and get all set to do that. And I believe it goes for, I think, I'm not sure if it's just a month or not, but I'll link inside number 23, her podcast, Katie's podcast, in my show notes so that you can check that out for yourself. Make sure, like I say, check out her podcast. It's very, very entertaining. She's a very talented knitter and sewer as well. So I'm sure you'll enjoy that. So the other yarn dyeing that I got done was an over dyeing of a skein I'd already done. When I was doing my fox colorway, I had a lot of the black left over, so I thought I would pop in an old skein. It's the skein of yarn. Now I don't know, I can't remember what exactly the yarn was that we used at the Manitoba Fiber Festival when Daughter and I went on our yarn dyeing lesson last fall, but it's a single and it's quite thick. So I had dyed it at the festival, my favorite colors of course, teal, turquoise, and a little bit of blue and a little bit of black that they had there, but the black ended up being more of a dark smoky gray color. So, and it was blocks of color, so I thought I would try twisting it up and then throwing it in the pot after I had finished my other yarn and see how it turned out. So I'll put a picture before I show you how it looks now. I'll put a picture of what it looked like before I over dyed it with black. And now this is what it looks like, and I'm much happier with it now. So here is that same skein, but over dyed black. So you can still see the pops of turquoise and teal and blue in that. And I just love the way they're almost like a jewel tone now against that black. So I'm really, really pleased with that. I think I named this Jeweled now. So yeah, it's a very, very thick yarn, but very, very squishy. I really like it. And I really love the way that turned out. At the end of this episode, I will insert some pictures of some of my yarn dyeing of the pots and that kind of thing, so you can see. With the fox colorway that I did, this one, I started out, it reminds me a lot of doing Easter eggs. I started out obviously with the ecru yarn for this one, and you go from light to dark. So I started by doing immersion dyeing this time. This is the first time I've done immersion dyeing. So I threw the skein into the pot with that already had yellow into the water, and then brought it up to temperature, and then let it cool, and then I took the yarn out while it was still fairly warm. I had gloves on. Reskeined it up into a different, retwisted it up into a different configuration, popped it back into the pot after I had added the orange colorway, the kangaroo paw, to it, and then brought that up to temperature, and then took it out, retwisted it again, and then added black to the pot. So I didn't have to take the old water out. Obviously, if you're adding colors that are darker and deeper, it just adds to it. You don't have to worry about changing the water. And so the black was the final. I was really kind of worried when I put this first skein into the black, because the water was, inky black. You put it in, you can't even see it. I take it out, and I'll have pictures, as I said, and the whole thing was black. And I'm thinking, oh, this is probably just going to be completely black skein of yarn. But it was so cool when you take it out and you untwist it, and you see all those other colors that are been inside those twists still there. So I was really surprised that it ended up not being black, totally black at all. And as a matter of fact, there's not much black at all in that when I realize how dark it looked on the outside. It just basically colors the outside. So yeah, it's a lot like Easter egg dyeing. And this one was the same. I had twisted it up, and when I put it in, it was completely black on the outside, but when you open it up and you still see those colors underneath, it's so cool. I really enjoy that method of dyeing, and I'm going to definitely be doing more of that. So that's a lot of fun. Having a lot of fun doing some yarn dyeing. So the next thing I have to share with you is some spinning that I've gotten completed over the last couple of weeks. My first project that I worked on this week was some green fiber that I wanted to get done in time to maybe start a project around St. Patrick's Day, which is coming up in a couple of weeks. So I've been working on this green fiber for a while. If you've been here before, you've seen that on my Turkish spindle, I had already spun up half of this fiber. When I first got it, I split the fiber in half, knowing that I wanted to spin a 2-ply. So I did half of it on my Turkish spindle and got that completed, but it took a fair amount of time. So I thought, well, maybe I'll try spinning the other half of the fiber on my wheel, on my CPW. So I had just started the second half on my Turkish spindle, so I wound that onto the bobbin of my antique wheel and completed spinning that in like a little over a day. I did the whole rest of the fiber. So I also, for the first time, plied the 2 singles into a 2-ply yarn. So it was the first time I've done plying on my wheel too, and it was just amazing how quickly it does it in comparison to a Turkish spindle. So it was a lot of fun. It was learning to spin the wheel in the other direction. You have to switch your drive band so that it crosses over on the top of the drive band rather than on the bottom. But yeah, the plying was just so easy to do. I'll insert a picture here of it on my bobbin. And here it is, all wound up. So here's my hand spun, and it's Generations Fiberworks was the fiber that I used. This was 100% merino. It was 3.8 ounces or 108 grams to start out with, and I ended up getting a 2-ply that's just under 300 yards. So I'm really pleased with how this turned out for my first project completed on my wheel. Both spun and plied on my wheel. So I'm looking forward to finding a pattern that I can knit this up into for St. Patrick's Day. So it's very, very squishy, very, very soft. So yeah, I'm pretty pleased with that. There's still some thick and thin parts. It's overplied maybe in some areas, underplied in others, but it's pretty balanced. Let's see if I can just show you. So there it is. And yeah, it sits nice and straight. So it's not twisting on its own, which means it's a pretty balanced yarn. So yeah, I'm very pleased with that project. I also have been working on my other spinning project, and that's some black fiber that I got at Ram Wools a while ago. And it is here. It is 80% merino, 20% silk that I got. So here's one bobbin. This is just a spare bobbin that daughter and I went to a flea market, and I saw a couple of bobbins, and they're too big for my wheel, but they're great to wind off the yarn onto to do my plying. So I have to either buy or get hubby to make me a Lazy Kate to put these on so that I can ply from them a lot easier. But for now, I have half of the, one of the 2 skeins completed, so that's this one here, and I'm pretty pleased with that's getting more even every time I do it, so I'm pretty happy with that. And the second skein is currently on my wheel, so I'm working on that. And I'm finding spinning on my wheel, especially after work in the evenings, is so relaxing, and it's so surprising how quickly you can get the yarn spun up. So hopefully I'll have this done in the next couple of weeks to show you. Maybe I'll have another skein of hand spun. And I don't know what I'm going to make out of this yet, but I'm really thrilled with how this is coming out. The silk in it makes it so easy to draft and spin. I'm really thrilled with how this is going. So yeah, so that's my spinning over the last couple of weeks. The last thing that I wanted to share with you is just some acquisitions. I don't have any yarn this week, but one thing hubby did get me the other day. He was out and happened to be next door to the old scrapbook store that when I was doing a lot more scrapbooking and card making and that kind of thing, he would get me gift certificates from this store. So he happened to be by there, and he comes home with this for me. And I still do cards and that, so this will come in handy. He says it's the only thing you could find at the scrapbook store that had a sheep or a lamb on it. So I thought that was really cute for him to actually go in and search for this cute little lamb in here. And it has little stamps called I Like You and that kind of thing. So I think this will be a cute little set to use maybe for some cards or tags to go with my knitting as well. So that was really sweet of him to find that for me as a surprise. And the last things that I wanted to share with you is I subscribe to a magazine. I haven't subscribed to a magazine in so many years. But one that I did try out a first couple of issues was Ply Magazine. And after getting these first few issues, I was so impressed that I have subscribed to it. And I've also set away for all of the issues that I could get. So far I have issues 8, 9, and 11, but I have also sent away for all the others. 11 is the most recent, 12 is coming out next month, and so Ply Magazine had all their back issues except for number 1. Unfortunately, I can't get a hold of the first issue, but 2 through till 11 I will have. So the other ones are on their way. These are beautiful spinning magazines. Really, really nice. And they do have an issue or an article in one of these. I think it might be this one on CPWs, which was really interesting. This is the most recent one. And it talks about singles, spinning for singles yarns. So that was interesting. Beautiful, beautiful photography in these magazines, and really great articles. So I'm really looking forward to getting the whole set of them so far, and also a subscription to continue getting Ply magazine. So highly recommend that if you're a spinner. Wonderful resource that I know I'll be going back to, and I'm going to share them with my daughter as well, who also loves to spin. So that's lots of fun. So I think that's all I have to share with you this week. I hope you enjoyed seeing everything, and I hope you'll visit with me again next time in my Victorian studio. Until then, bye-bye everybody, and thanks for coming by.